welcome back to Intentional Queen Podcast Journey to Restoration with your host, Janine. I am a certified life coach, and I am here to empower you on your self-love, self-healing, and growth mindset journey. It is May, guys. I am so blessed to be back with you guys. And in April, we made it all about self-care, y'all, and I definitely rested. Okay. And so the first podcast episode that we did in April was about me talking about your thought work and how you have to overcome some obstacles. And I gave you 10 tips on how I feel like you can make self-care and self-love merge together and how that can look like for you, especially from the mindset growth standpoint. And then the second episode, I had to bring my girl Latorsha Peak on. That's what she do, iced coffee and self-care. So it would only be fitting that I made her be that episode where she gave you some thought work about prioritizing your self-care from the fitness aspect. And she talked about, do you stock it? We was talking about food. We was talking about so much, and just asking people, what can you do? And what can you do means you may not be able to do everything, but just show up for yourself and show what can you do and be happy with the little things. So I thought that was really, really good. So make sure you go back and check those episodes out because they've already blessed some people, already had people slide my DMs and let me know that's the word that they needed. So hopefully if that's for you, boo, make sure you listen. The newsletter. Thank you, everybody who's been signing up. I see you, boo. I see you. The newsletter comes out the last Thursday of every month, and that's called the Intentional Refuel. And I thought about that more from the aspect of capacity and just pouring more into you and just kind of helping you. Because I feel like towards the end of the month, that's when you're running a little low. You need a little more gas. You need a little fuel to just keep you going. And so it's like off the podcast and to give you some thought work, some journal prompts. I talk about the podcast. I even put in there and showed y'all the article that Shout Out HTX did. And I got some events coming down the pike, and I got some things getting ready to come in the wind. So you don't want to miss out. And the way to be on that is just to sign up to intentionalqueenjourney.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom and sign up to the newsletter. And if you're on my social media platforms, they're always in my link in bio. So you can click there and sign right in. So thank you, thank you, thank you. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're going to just take a minute to talk about that because you need to understand a lot of people suffer in silence, and mental health is a big deal. And with me being a nurse anesthesiologist, I just really care and really take heed to mental health because I do see it in my day-to-day job. But you also know, May, because for the women out there that are moms, it's Mother's Day. So I don't know when you're going to be listening to this episode, but it's very close to that. So I'm going to say happy Mother's Day. And I hope that you have a blessed day because, motherhood is something we do every day. So to even have a shout out to do it for that one day where people, acknowledge us in the streets. So let's jump into the episode that I want to talk about today. And I was just getting off a coaching call with one of my clients. And as I actually ended the call, I said, girl, I think you just, empowered me to go ahead and drop this podcast episode. And it's called You Are Enough, right where you are right now. Because lately I've been having a coach on that. That has come up for many women. And I just realized that it must be something that, as I told you, I speak about topics on the podcast when I'm led. And this is something I'm led that I really feel like can help someone. So when I speak to the one. And so if it's you, boo, then listen up. As I was coaching my client, we were talking about a lot. And I think sometimes as women, or even as people, because I got men listening too, we struggle to call things really what they are. We'll talk all around it, but we have to get to the root of what's really going on. And when I was coaching my client, I wanted her to understand that, yes, you told me all the things. But really, what is the root? We got to get to the root. And when we got to the root, which, I got some spiritual folk out there too. And you know how they talk about in the Bible about good seed versus bad seed. So the tear seed is the ones like the weeds. You got to pull them up there by the roots and get them out because they are causing infection. And so in my mind, we're going to relate it to that because, I like to speak in parables. And so when I think about are you enough, it's like the seeds that you are sowing into your brain and your mind about why you feel that way is because there was a negative seed there that we now have to rip out and we have to replace it with good seed so you can nurture that thing and let it grow into something better and change your thought pattern. That's what mindset growth is, because people say, well, what do you life coach about? And I life coach on self-love, self-healing, and growth mindset. And with growth mindset is stages to that thing. And I feel like your worth falls into all three elements. And that's why we're going to go ahead and dig into that. So that's what we're going to do today. So stay tuned for this. I'm not going to keep it too long because I just think we just need to just have a reminder. How are you showing up for yourself? When you don't feel like you enough, you're not really showing up for yourself. You're not really taking care of yourself. You're not really doing all the things. And people watch how you show up. And sometimes they respond to you on how you show up. So if you show up kind of timid or you show up kind of passive, sometimes people may take that as weakness. They take your kindness as weakness. How are you showing up? Sometimes you have to show up for authority. It's funny because this is I was tired this week at one of my jobs. And the lady at the desk saw me walking by and she said, "You're not walking with your normal authority today." And I was like, "What does that mean?" She said, "Janine, you always show up with authority." And I said, "What does that mean?" And she's like, "You're happy, you know your stuff, you care about these patients, you show up with authority." And I said, "Okay, well, thank you. I'm just a little tired today." She said, "Yeah, I could see it. But what I'm saying is, people are used to how you show up in the streets. And when you know you enough, right where you are, people will then see it." So that was just a little inside thing that I caught of somebody telling me the lens they see. I was just moving about. And when I do move about, I don't really try to show up as authority, but apparently that's how I'm showing up. And I like that. I like that people see that I'm about my business, meaning I care about how I look. I care how I show up. I care how, I don't want you to totally care how people see you in the regard of changing who you are because of what they say. You should care about how you show up, but it doesn't mean that you have to take on what they say. So if she has said, "Well, you don't show up as authority and you're nothing," then I would be like, "Well, that's your thought, not mine. I know how I want to show up." So really it's not about what they say, it's about what you think about yourself. That's where I'm going with that. But it's nothing like when you showing up as that way and you're in alignment with how others see you. So you know what you see, but then it's just a compliment on that thing. Remember, your worth is always 100. So if they saying the same thing you're saying, then that's showing you that how you showing up is exuding out of you. You glowing out there in the streets and people see what you're showing up as. I hope that made sense. Okay. And you just got to own it and own your role and stand where you're standing because you won't be moved. Because when you're standing where you're standing, you're not there for the okey doke and the flim flam because people sometimes will try to sway you out here. Now, like I told you on my podcast episode at the beginning of April, it's okay to be uncomfortable and start new things, but feel comfortable with who you out there with. For instance, they tell you the 5 people that you spend the most time with, that's who you're more likely to become. And so look around, examine your environment, analyze what's going on out here because that's showing you what you like to entertain. And so if you're trying to go to to the mountaintop, like we said, you're a giraffe out here in these streets, you got to get real clear. And like I told you also on that first podcast of April, is put your backpack on and it's time to go and stop carrying people on your back because that's an enabling thing. And when you do that, you get yourself injured. And what I mean by injured is like you're tired, you're overworked, you're overstressed, and then you turn into superwoman syndrome and you wonder why you're struggling out here. And Vania Swain talked about that on a podcast episode in one of my earlier series, talking about speak yes to your yes. And she talked about the superwoman syndrome. That cape can be known as a mask because you know how Drake said, "I used to save him with a mask and a cape." Now we out here know we don't save people with masks and capes, but we will support you for the journey. And you have to be careful of who you are allowing in your space because energy is real. And so some people come to put roadblocks and stumbling blocks into your movement. So you have to be mindful of those 5 that you spending the most time with. And you just keep pushing, put your own backpack on and do the work. We talk about the butterfly and we talk about how it's evolution and it's stages to that thing. You know, it's becoming. I put a definition up on my Instagram about becoming and how I feel like it relates to evolution. And that resonated with so many people because I want you to understand it's an art to that thing and it's stages to that thing. You coming in as a bruised caterpillar, you got to do the cocoon work, and then you out here flying free. And so by me helping her to dig down to the root, pull that one out, and we inserted some positive things, she was able to coach and understand how it feels to go ahead and think positive things so we can work on what's really holding her back for where she's trying to go. I think sometimes when we've been through so much trauma or negativity or failure or rejection, whatever you want to insert in that line, We can sabotage ourselves when we do get into a positive space because we're so ready to be in a trauma response when we finally sit in something good. So say you so used to having negative seeds in there and you plant some positive ones and you get into a positive situation, but you may still be having that little side eye because you're just so used to it going to negative ways. Coaching you on the parachute plan. And what is the parachute plan? That is, listen, if I got to jump off this parachute out here into the abyss, will I be okay? Yes, you will. But have we prepared for it? Yes, we have. And so if we prepare for it, then you're more apt to keep moving and moving into those uncomfortable spaces because you've already done the thought work. You done planned it out that if this don't work out, I'm good and I will always be good. And anything that comes to me after this is a what? A bonus. I'm talking about people, jobs, anything else. Because once you know who you are and you change the lens of yourself and you know your worth is 100, I mean that one more time for the person in the back. When you know your worth is 100, that means it is fully whole. You are enough right here, right now, where you are. I'm telling you, it's so freeing. It's so it's the power of resilience. That's how I see it. It's like when you just bloom into that thing and you like, listen, look at my flower just coming through. And this is another thing on a side note, I always talk about being buried and being planted. And being buried, when others see it, they see you're dying. They see you being put in the ground. And when you're being planted and we put a new seed in there, it's the same action, but it has a different result. So when you're out there, that growth mindset thing is changing your results. But to others, it may look like it's the same action. But you know in your mind and in your feelings and how you moving that I got results coming. And truthfully, what they say now, because it's springtime and people getting their landscape done and all that type stuff, what they do, they put manure, right? And we all know what manure is. They put that over top as fertilizer. Okay. So when people are coming at you with that okey doke, you can say, okay, this is manure, but it's fertilizer. And so I'm going to take this miracle grow because I'm getting ready to grow this plant. And when you keep doing that, next thing you know, you sprouting buds. And then when you sprouting buds, you making trunks and leaves and branches and all types of stuff. And can't nobody do nothing because they didn't even see the work that happened in the dirt. Because in the dirt, that's the dark. And when it's dark, ain't nobody there. It's just you and the seed. We just getting it done. And that's what I call the cocoon work because it's the hardest thing to do. But when the seed has to break, because you always hear me talking about the crushing, and I just put that up on my Instagram because I had a moment where I had to glance back and say to myself, hey boo, look where you came from. You don't stay there too long, but you do have to look back and see how long the journey has been and look at all the steps. And as I also coach my client on, is a toe dip or a baby step is still a step. And when you can clap for yourself, it does not matter what they say. When you can clap for yourself, anything else, when they clapping for you, that's okay. Because at some point, your success will make people stop clapping. And you can't be linked in and so consumed on I'm doing the right thing only because they clapping. Nah, you got to be able to clap for yourself and then be okay when they clap for you and be okay when they don't clap for you. Because when you know you're doing the right thing, when you know you're doing the right thing and you know you're on track and you know what you're doing is what is your purpose, it will work out and you will understand all the roadblocks, all the things you had to go through to get here. And you will have an epiphany and say, oh, now I see. And that's why they also say in the Bible, don't lean on your own understanding because sometimes what you thought you wanted is really not what you needed. You hear me? And what you thought you wanted was not what you needed. And then later you get to see why. When you can control your mind and your thoughts, because remember, as I said, James Allen said, your mind is like a garden. Okay. And so you must plant positive things so you can grow positive things. And you reap what? What you sow, but not necessarily where you sow will you get your reward. And so be mindful that you reap what you sow, but you may see it in a different space and in a different place. I tell you, talk to yourself nice. That talk to yourself nice, how you talk to yourself, that self-talk thing is a real deal. Changing how you talk to yourself, meaning, oh, this was a failure, this was that. I was coaching on that. This was a failure, Janine. No, it wasn't. It was a lesson learned, baby girl. And this is what we're going to do differently. Let's talk about how we're going to do it different. Because what you got to do, like you tell your kids when they fall out there, they riding bikes and on scooters and stuff. Dust your knee off, get back up, and let's go ahead and do it again. You're going to stumble, and that's okay. And people may watch you fall. And guess what? That is okay too. But the thing is, sometimes people just jealous of your growth because they wish they could be doing what you're doing. But they don't understand. And this is, me just speaking from my life events. People really want your gifts, but they don't want all the trouble and all the things that come with having your gifts. And I think that's one thing that used to irritate me because sometimes people want your life so bad, so bad, y'all. They want your life. And then you give them pieces of the downsides. And they be like, nah, I don't want that. I don't want that work. I don't want to have to do that work. I don't want to have to go to school that long, Janine. I don't want to have to do this, Janine. I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to have to endure that, Janine. I don't want to have, okay, but you want all the rewards, but you don't want to do the work. And so when I tell people, be mindful and be careful of what you say you want. Because when you start talking about what you want, sometimes it is work to be done. And this is when you come in from the bus to the minivan to the Bugatti. It is work, it is stages, it is a process. And some people don't want to do the process, and that's okay. That's where that Dora the Explorer backpack. Stay at the campsite and just chill. And that's okay. You don't gotta come, but I'm not gonna carry you though. I will support you, but I'm not going to carry you. And that's where I think we get stuck. And I hope this resonates for somebody because I want you to know, baby girl, you are enough right here where you are. One more time for the person in the back. You are enough right where you are right now. It don't matter what you're facing. I want you to dry your eyes. I want you to speak this over yourself. And I want you to go ahead and just baby step because it's still a step. So, y'all, that's my message. I mean, I told my client I was going to have to jump on and do it. And so here it is because I feel this is for somebody. My thought work is, I want you to write down 3 thoughts that is ruminating in your head about why you feel like you're not enough where you are right now and what emotions are driving that. And then I want you to change that and tell me 3 positive thoughts that you can have to get to where you're trying to go. Journal that and see what you get to and keep going over that and meditating that because I want you to know it doesn't matter what they say and embrace your crushing. Remember, the crushing is coming from grapes to wine. And I'm telling you right now, I'm in wine phase. That crushing thing was rough. It was rough in the streets. That pruning, it hurt. But that wine phase, I'm saying it's worth it. So level up your intentional queen to a better you. I drop an episode every 2 weeks. It is May Mental Health Awareness Month. That's why I drilled down about talking about your mindset. There is a lot of people struggling in silence. And it is also Mother's Day week or around that time when you listen to this video. So I want to make sure that you guys know that I am wishing you peace, light, and love. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.